Now that you've heard everything in this awesome clinic, we also want to present to you that you can do high adventure on a very low cost. There's no reason whatsoever that cost should be an obstacle for you going out and having an awesome experience in the outdoors. But there's some philosophical things that you've got to work with. Number one, light can be achieved by gear, but light is also a frame of mind. This really amounts to the type of stuff that you're going to carry along with you. A lot of us in this philosophy of be prepared want to take everything plus the kitchen sink with us when we go outdoors. But we have to change our frame of mind and begin to look at aggressively what it is that we can leave behind that's not going to impact our safety. Take only what you need, but be sure to take what you need. And this takes some thinking, and this is part of how we develop these character and leadership skills in our scouts. It's by getting them to think about the things that they're actually going to need while they're on the trail. An example of thinking light and taking only what you need. When you go to Philmont, typically you're there during the middle of the summertime, and you're going to experience temperatures that are in about the 30-degree-ish range at night to maybe as high as 80, 90 degrees during the day. Actually, 30 degrees at night's not very cold. When you're all snuggled up in your sleeping bag, it can be quite warm. So there's really not necessary for you to take your long underwear, your bottom layer. You can take your top layer, but there's no need for the bottom layer. And if you get cold at night, just jump inside your sleeping bag and get warm there. The stocking cap that sometimes we wear in order to keep our heads warm, most of the time during the day it's in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and we're burning a lot of calories and a lot of energy. No need to take that stocking cap necessarily. Glove liners. Again, if it gets cold at night, you can simply jump inside your sleeping bag, put your hands in your pockets. So these are ways that you can begin to think about what are the things that I might consider leaving behind. But bottom line is that you always need to hike your own hike. So what I would do would not necessarily be what you would need to do. You know, when you look at cheap gear, what is it that you have already? Young Scouts, there's no need for us to go out and invest a tremendous amount of money in packs, sleeping bags, tents, etc. In fact, your day pack that you use to carry your school books in or something like that could actually be modified to carry a modest amount of gear, particularly on our weekend backpacks. You might even look in your garage, and a lot of you have the old external backpacks that can be modified, that can be reasonably light. It doesn't have to be perfectly lightweight. The JanSport Scout backpack, for instance, which is an external frame backpack, is actually reasonably light. So look around at what you already have. We can go online and look all day at all kinds of products that are made just perfect for our backpacking experience. But the reality is you probably have most of this stuff at home. Look in your drawers. Is there a great pair of wool socks? Do you have a pair of running shoes? The rave right now is to wear your running shoes on the trail, and that's what I've been wearing instead of those big, heavy leather, expensive boots. Look for those wicking t-shirts from School Sports. These are awesome clothing elements, the wicking ones, the Polypro non-cotton shirts. In fact, on the trail, it's often cited that cotton kills because cotton absorbs so much water. Soda bottles for water. You can find a 1 liter bottle of water. That makes an awesome, very lightweight, inexpensive way of carrying your water. A plastic bowl and an old spoon in the cupboard is another great way. Now, I'm not a giant garage sale fan, but a lot of people are, and people that love to go to the garage sales, you ought to go check those out. There's a lot of old backpacks and day packs that are available out there on the cheap. And again, they can be modified by cutting unnecessary straps, etc. Sleeping bags are also available at garage sales. We just want to make sure that we clean them before we use them. And then stoves, tarps, tents are also available, so don't forget the garage sale route. Thrift stores. Almost every community in the United States has a number of different thrift stores. Spend a Saturday morning driving around and looking for things like packs, sleeping bags, zip-off nylon pants, the wicking sports shirts, windbreakers, rain jackets, and fleece jackets and vests. Those are all available at a very low cost, just a few dollars each at many of these thrift stores. You don't have to buy new gear. You can buy used gear. There's a number of websites. If you go online and just Google cheap backpacking gear, you're going to be inundated with a number of different opportunities out there in terms of where you could go online to buy gear. Pawn shops. You could actually rent gear from places like REI instead of spending the money to buy it, and test that gear out. And then don't forget, in your scout troop, in your neighborhood, and in your community, you might be able to borrow gear that somebody already has. I've got multiple tents, multiple backpacks, and I loan this gear out all the time to people that want to test different gear out. And then don't forget discount stores, dollar stores, etc., where you might be able to go pick up a very inexpensive $15 multi-quart pot instead of a very expensive $30, $40, $50, $60 titanium pot. Here's the example of the water bottle. You can go and spend $9 on a very nice, hard-sided, fairly heavy Nalgene bottle, or you can use a free soda or water bottle. There's the make your own gear and do it yourself. If anyone out there sews, and sorry moms, but this is an awesome way to teach your scouts how to make things. There are a million patterns available on the internet. A lot of very modern outdoor fabrics are available. Some of them are even available in seconds. Some of them are just discolored, and it doesn't make any difference because once you get out on the trail one time, they're getting beat up and marked. You can go to places like Outdoor Wilderness, OWFINC.com, and other websites where you can learn and get patterns. You can actually purchase patterns, and you can purchase material. I mean, in scouting, we have a tradition of making gear. If you just go back and search online in old Boys Life magazines, they were full of articles about how to make your own equipment. And frankly, I derive satisfaction out of making something very simply, very inexpensively, that has a very powerful use while out on the trail. You know, to make an easy tarp, and I would highly recommend that you learn how to tarp camp. There's something about being outdoors, kind of on that old cowboy bedroll, and tarps take you another step to that. You can buy a sil nylon coated fabric, and in seconds and under $30 make you an awesome tarp that can be erected and provide fantastic shelter, even from some of the most extreme elements that we would normally encounter while we're on a backpacking trip. Simply, you could add grommets and buy aluminum gutter stakes from a Home Depot to outfit it, and this is all relatively light. So you don't have to spend $100, $150 on a tarp and stakes. You could spend $30 to $40 on that same tarps and stakes. You know, here's a great example of utilizing Tyvek, and everybody sees this being put up on the as a vapor and moisture barrier on all of our homes that are built nowadays. A product from a company called Tyvek, and I bet you could go out and beg or borrow pieces of this. You could actually buy it at Home Depot relatively cheap. And here's a bivy sack that would go well with your tarp. And these are a very effective, lightweight, under 12 ounces, very breathable product. And you can go and purchase a roll of this stuff for an entire crew and make bivvies for everybody that would amount to about $6 a bivvy. Recently, I bought a bivvy from an awesome company, Mountain Laurel Designs, that cost me in excess of $200. So no need to spend the high dollars. Other cheap do-it-yourself. Here's a $5 tarp right here, 13 ounces, 8x10, 8x11. You can make your own what we call a hobo stove, and these can be made out of the little 3-ounce cat food cans. You simply take the wrapping off the outside, poke some holes around it with a hole punch, and you've got an awesome alcohol stove. Taking a tin cup and smoothing out the edges from the removed top, and now you have a free 2-ounce tin can cup, and that can be awesome on the trail as well. Now let's talk about food for a minute. Food can be really expensive on the trail. Freeze-dried food is typically very expensive. Dehydrated backpacking food from companies like Mountain House, etc., which is very tasty, but it also could be expensive. You got to realize that the shelves of your local grocery store are absolutely covered with backpacking food at a fraction of the cost. All you need to do is shed some of the some of the packaging and think creatively about those products that can easily be rehydrated. You know, you can dehydrate your own food, but you don't have to go out and buy your own dehydrator for infrequent use. Now, if you really want to get into it, a dehydrator can be an awesome investment. I have one of those. You can actually build your own dehydrator. The internet has plans. Go to altonbrown.com and look at all the different recipes and the ways that you can create your own dehydrator. You can use your oven, especially for those of you that might actually have a convection oven. And then freezer bag cooking. This is one of my favorite. Go to trailcooking.com and learn how you can make these very scrumptious, tasty trail meals with products right off the shelf of your grocery store that are just easy to rehydrate with a cup or two of boiling water. Now I want to talk a little bit about spending some money and how you can do it on the cheap, how you can do it expensively. And this is just one simple example. Just based upon the big three that we talked about in a previous video, here's a make your own gear. If you were to go to rayjardine.com, he's got a couple of products that he sells: the Ray quilt, the Ray tarp, and the Ray backpack. And all in, with the sleeping pad from Walmart, you're talking in the neighborhood of $300. Now, if you're like me and you like to go out and buy and search for gear, that same number for the same type of products can range anywhere from $700 to $750 for a great quilt, a great tarp or a tarp tent, and a great backpack from Gossamer Gear, who I love tremendously. Bottom line, a pile of cash isn't necessary to enjoy high adventure backpacking lightly. A little creativity on your part and a willingness to do some research and a little bit of legwork, you can do all of this on the cheap. Additionally, it teaches your scouts to use their resources and ingenuity, and this in and upon itself will build character and leadership skills in them. When I see a scout out on the trail that has done that, this is a guy that I see as being ingenious, and this is a guy that I view as being a true leader. And then the last point I want to make is that a scout is thrifty. So everything that we're talking about in this particular video segment fits perfectly into that one point of the Scout Law. All right, now that you're ready to go out and do this, it's time to get our scouts out on the trail and scouting lightly.